Hey everybody, welcome back to a SUBTA Friday Live. I'm your host, Chris George, co-founder and chairman of SUBTA. Today I got a super exciting show for you and a super exciting guest who knows everything about licensing and partnerships. And this gentleman is a legend when it comes to that, and that is Matt Arvalo, who was the co-founder of Loot Crate and is currently the co-founder and chief experience officer over at Pinfinity. Matt, thank you so much for being on.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. So everybody might not know this, but Matt and I have gone back, 3-4 years now. He's been a huge supporter of SUBTA. He's done amazing things in the subscription industry, very innovative. And like I said, he was a co-founder of Loot Crate, which is one of the biggest subscription boxes in the world. He's now co-founder of Pinfinity and is bringing together some really cool things. Matt, real quick, take a second, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. And again, thank you for being on.
Sure. So prior to Loot Crate, Hannah and myself, my wife, had a consulting company working with brands on experiential marketing efforts, brand strategy. And after founding Loot Crate with my partner, that was quite the whirlwind, right? We became the #1 fastest growing private company in the country as a subscription box, not as a biotech company or something like that, which a lot of respect for, but as a pop culture subscription box, we became the fastest growing private company. And it was a really great ride. After Loot Crate, we decided to kind of take that $1 billion of direct to consumer experience that we had and the hundreds of thousands of subscribers that we had and find a way to find interesting products, interesting inventors, and interesting projects to work on where we can take that mix of technical experience, brand and strategy licensing experience, and then obviously the membership and subscription experience. And that first major project that we worked on, which is about 1 year and 9 months now, is Pinfinity. We found this amazing inventor, Caleb Paulus, who's in London, our partner. Because of COVID, we've never actually met, which I think is kind of interesting and unique. We have this big company of Pinfinity, and we've never actually had a chance. But I think I'm going to London in October for a London Comic Con, so I'm hoping to see him there. And Pinfinity is kind of this perfect blend of everything we've done before. Really innovative product, something that people haven't seen before in the pop culture and license space with a very collectible element to it and membership component. So what we've done is we've created augmented reality pins. We've taken the incredible excitement around the world of pins and collecting pins and taken it to a whole new place by taking these previously physical items and enriching them with dynamic digital content. So people are familiar with AR and have been using AR for years, Snapchat filters, all that kind of stuff. When you do something funny on Instagram and it's got a filter on and stuff like that, all that's AR. What we've done is we've taken that concept and allowed us to do animation, music, video, other call to actions with what just start as regular, very high quality licensed pins.
Yeah, that's great. And we're going to show you guys a video here shortly. But before we get into that, having a licensing deal with a brand can be super beneficial for your subscription, right? Or your product, whatever it may be. And so let's talk a little bit about that. And for those of you watching, make sure if you have any questions, put them in the chat and make sure you stick around because Matt's going to tell us a lot about some of the mistakes you can make when trying to approach a company and getting a licensing deal. We know it's not easy because everybody wants a licensing deal. So tell me about what companies should be thinking about when approaching a brand about a licensing or partnership deal.
I mean, it's really the same as approaching any kind of deal. You want a win-win-win. You want something that when you come to them, they see the net value in it, in allowing their very precious, at most times, billions of dollars of investment in these IPs. We're talking about Transformers and My Little Pony and G.I. Joe and Magic the Gathering. You need to provide a unique and interesting value proposition as to why your subscription or your product that you've created is worthy of that IP. At the same time, making sure that it's a benefit to the end customer and brand. I mean, so often we see, people who do licensed products and they get there and they get the license, but the product is like, it's a fad. It's something that's kind of flash in the pan. To really get that deep integration with those licensed partners, it needs to be more than just becoming just a licensor-licensee relationship. You really want to lean in. It's 2021, right? So they want to know that you're going to be supporting them, that you're going to be doing unique and interesting things. And that can be everything as simple as co-marketing efforts where, because you're experienced at how to activate and retain members and subscribers, showing that proof and not just the sales of what you're doing from the pins, all the way to whole subscription lines that you can launch with them because they've seen the reaction to the product, they've seen your attention to detail, and they see it as an entirely new channel that they can use to drive revenue and create really amazing experiences for their fans around the IP.
Yeah. And it seems like in a lot of cases, it's got to be something unique, right? Because like they could go make the like. I'm not going to go to Disney and say, "Hey, let me make you T-shirts," because like
Correct.
not that,
Yeah.
right? Now you've
But
had,
there are some commodities that do make sense. I mean, if you have a subscription box and your subscription box is geared towards kids,
yep,
you could, if you have the right amount of subscribers, the right value proposition, you could go to a company like Capcom and say, hey, or let's say Sega, and say, hey, you know, Sonic is big, you got the new movie coming out and everything. I've got 10,000 subscribers who get this kids box every month. I don't want to have to buy from a distributor. I don't want to have to go to buy off the rack. I'd like to get a license to do just t-shirts, not in retail, directly in what we call subcom. I want to be able to just get that ability to have that product in our box with this exclusive design. I don't need a 10-year licensing deal, 5-year license deal. So you can start with those kind of steps ahead of time.
right.
You still pay royalties. You still have perhaps an increased cost in that product compared to just other places. But what you get is this ability to say, hey, Sonic fans, we have an exclusive kids design t-shirt in our box this month. You won't find it in stores. It's not going to be anywhere else. And for things like kids, I mean, they want that. They want to be able to go to the schoolyard and be like, check this out. They don't want necessarily, might be an overarching to say they don't want. Let's say your most engaged and valuable subscribers prefer to be able to say, hey, I got this. And it's like, yeah, your mom can go get it at Target, but like I'm a member of this kids club and I got this gaming t-shirt. So
yeah, and especially if it's an exclusive design, right? Like you
correct.
Couldn't anywhere else. So
right.
I know that you recently, or you've had this relationship, but with Pinfinity, you've done something with Magic the Gathering, which I think real quickly, let's play that video because
Sure.
I want to then talk about how you kind of like the steps you took to get that done.
Absolutely.
So let's play that real quick. Super cool, Matt. I mean, what a great partnership. So tell us a little bit more about that.
That was produced. Yeah, that was produced by our team in house, which is great. You know, it's just a handful of us, but thankfully, in addition to being an inventor of the Pinfinity platform and coming up with this idea of augmented reality pins, Caleb, as our chief creative officer and co-founder, also is just an amazing motion graphic artist, all that kind of stuff. So we're able to do that kind of stuff in house, and it's kind of how we look when we look at businesses like this. So that was an evolution of, you know, your typical pin packaging that you would get. So this is what, you know, you'd be seeing. These are all, you know, individually created for those IPs to show them that we're not just pushing our brand and everything. And then that led to our Pinfinity Plus subscription. So Pinfinity Plus is where we partnered. We got the licenses from a variety of different pop culture brands, and we built out a program where you get a licensed lanyard and 2 augmented reality pins. And what's great for people who are watching that are in their subscription boxes, we get these direct from the factory in China like this. We don't have to hold the lanyard, do any of that stuff. It comes just like that. It goes into an envelope with a nice little insert and goes out. So we evolved then into, you know, more branded boxes. So that's where we went and said, okay, now we're going to have the Pinfinity Plus branding there. We designed a slip cover that can go in and out of it. And then inside we have this, you know, a place for the art and everything. And I mentioned
what comes in every box typically?
1 lanyard and then 2 pins for the Pinfinity Plus subscription. So that's an every other month subscription that you get there. And then what happened with that is once we had Magic in there, we approached Hasbro and we said, you know, the reaction was incredible because what we did with Magic is we actually did this like collaboration where they had integrated Dungeons and Dragons into Magic. And so we knew what their marketing beats were. We're brand strategists and marketers as well. So we said, look, we'll align with all of your releases for the rest of the year. It's not about what, you know, and integrated with what the fans want, but the fans, a company like WotC and Hasbro, they have a very good, lot of experience. They know what their fans want. And that's when we created this Pinfinity Plus Magic the Gathering subscription dedicated to that. And that's a different process there. What you also saw in that video was like, we use this pins.ar shortener so that it's just pins.ar/join, et cetera, to continue to kind of build that consumer knowledge that these are augmented reality pins and, little pieces like that.
How was your approach with them? So like, somebody that wants to make a licensing deal with somebody, like what's the steps? Like, how do you think they get in front of them?
Well, there are a lot of agencies that represent IP that say, hey, we have Snoopy, we have Garfield, we have Care Bears and stuff like that. And it's not that difficult. There's lots of resources, and I hope that I have some more time these days to work with SUBTA to help build out some of those resources. Where should you go for this kind of stuff and everything? And so hopefully this kicks off more of that kind of discussion. It's not difficult to find out who owns the rights to that IP. And then it was just a matter of placing ourselves in situations where we can actually show them the product. With COVID, unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of physical, being able to go up to a booth and say, hey, I've got this really cool thing, like, check it out, like to see it. But we sent sample boxes. We used our network. And honestly, this is not a plug, I promise, because we're not really doing a lot in this space right now. But it's working with somebody who maybe has some of those prior relationships as well.
Yeah.
I'm not the guy to go to when it comes to music or film or anything, but with pop culture and games, Guile Ventures has the ability to kind of we know those people. We know who to call, who to talk to at different places. So I would say have that humility, the same that we do when it comes to our areas that we don't have a lot in, and just say, maybe I need to reach out. LinkedIn, SUBTA chat are good places to say, hey, does anybody have a connection here? Or where should I go to look for this kind of stuff?
You got a network. Yeah.
Yeah. I wish there was just this direct, oh, here's this directory, you submit this, but there's nuances to it. Right. And then a lot of what they're looking for is innovation around their IP. I showed you that pin before. Our new packaging is new and much more collectible. So this is what a 2-pin set would look like. It's got, the ability to collect them all. So this is what we're actually going to be moving forward to. So all of our Pinfinity pins will have branding that's around this. And so we have distribution now in retail, both in the United States and in the UK, to get those products into retail establishments that will both build brand awareness around Pinfinity itself to drive subscription. But we obviously are keeping those separate so that they're always exclusive. And you get, as we've talked about in the past, Chris, certain membership benefits for being a member, for committing to that subscription, a member store, exclusive discounts. We do behind the scenes. We let people see how the pins are created. We thought that was kind of interesting. People kind of love that. And then because we're gamers and pop culture fans, we also do live streams where we're playing games with them. We're playing Magic. We're doing that kind of stuff and doing giveaways. So all of that together, showing that brand that we're not just, we want to take your multi-million-dollar IP and use it just to sell products, but we want to engage with your audience. We want to find new ways to present your product you've never seen before. We want to get it to a recurring audience of people. We want to create an experience for them. That's what really kind of checked all the boxes off with some of these major IPs and allowed them to work with us. Allowed them to feel comfortable working with us.
How do these licensing deals usually typically get paid out? Is it royalties? Is there an upfront amount?
Royalty. Sometimes there's an upfront amount, and then there's royalty reporting, and then the term. 2 years, 3 years, 1 year.
What's the royalty typically? What percentage?
It really varies.
What's the most you've seen? The least you've seen?
Least I've seen is 0 because there's this a huge net benefit to all parties involved that they feel like they're going to get some promotion, some marketing out of it. On the high end, I don't really see anything higher than 15%.
Sure.
But there are other kind of terms and conditions that come along with that. Yeah. The important thing to do is to have those projections ahead of time. So our subscription line P&L has what we believe are aggressive, let's say normalized, and then maybe negative kind of things. We pull all that together. We show the brand what they could expect to get in royalty payments based off of our subscriber base as a way to kind of open the door. We're not looking to buy 100 pins. We're not looking to move. We're going to move thousands of them, right? And so that's kind of where that starts off. So they can, because at the end of the day, they're salespeople. Yes, they love the brand. They want to see it like exist really in really interesting ways, including subscription. But they also have metrics, just like we all have. Get a certain amount of royalties coming in. So you have to speak that language first, while also showing that you have knowledge and understanding of the brand. So I would obviously you want to include things in your subscription that you're passionate about, I would imagine. So being able to authentically have that conversation, being like, I saw this new game you guys announced at E3, but you also have these classics. We'd love to get a license because we know that you're going to want to make as big a splash as possible when the game comes out. So how about this? We'll take on this license and do XYZ titles, but then this other title will have dropped the same month your game comes out. And let's see if we can do like a press release of that. Yeah. Just showing that like your subscription model and your subscription commerce channel can act as a marketing and acquisition channel and not just a pure royalty. You're going to make money because we're buying a lot of product and paying royalties.
I remember we did Gentleman's Box did a licensing deal with Jim Beam when they were launching their Jim Beam Black premium whiskey, and it made sense, right? Like and it was they launched it the same month they launched that whiskey, so they got a ton of marketing exposure. So we didn't pay a license; they actually paid us. Kind of was the reverse, because they were looking for unique ways for marketing dollars to spend their marketing dollars. So
and that's kind of like the progression, right? So I'll give it to you based off like how we did in the past. As you know, we were like hand stamping boxes and stuff like that. Now we know, where to go to get corrugate manufactured, design, everything. But at the very beginning, we were just buying stuff off the shelf. We have 1,000 subscribers. Okay, let's find a retailer who might have something that didn't quite sell or that they have excess inventory of. Yeah. So that's how we got licensed product in the box. We had no obligation to let any of those brands know or anything like, hey, we're putting there. Yeah. We bought them. We could put in the box. We can do whatever we want, whether it's candy or vinyl figures. Then it came to, okay, can we talk to some of those distributors who have those larger volumes of 10,000, 100,000 units? Hey, can we work with you to do this? Then we leveraged that relationship that they had with the actual IP holders to say, now we have X amount of subscribers. It's probably more interesting to you. We'd like to do something exclusive for the box. So that usually started off, I'm going to go a little pop culture here, but that usually started off with like variants. So let's take the Spider-Man figure, but let's do like a new color variant on it. Yeah. That you guys don't need to do new molds, new this, new that. Just give us the Xbox, the whatever the name of the box is, exclusive. Right. And make it easy for you. And then we eventually got to the part where we had product designers in-house. And that's kind of what we have with Pinfinity, right? Yeah. We are designing new products based off the style guides and all that kind of stuff and having them manufactured so that they are truly unique. So you can be the biggest My Little Pony fan on the planet, but you cannot get this pin, especially with the augmented reality experience, unless you purchase it from us or if it's included in one of our subscription lines.
Yeah, I remember being in your office and seeing that whole room you had with the designers. It was cool. So before we wrap up here, Matt, what are some of the biggest mistakes you're seeing people make when trying to get a licensing deal or land one?
I think it's kind of how we started this conversation. It's not necessarily understanding the true value of what that IP partner can provide, looking at just like the product itself and not really thinking that there's or being thoughtful that there is a whole company behind that IP. There's advertising, marketing, there's events, there's all these other kind of things. And I think being a little bit more selective would be important. You can make a mistake of just trying to search for like the biggest IP. For Pinfinity, we went after some indie games first who had complete control over their license, but still had like these breakout hits and had merchandise that they were creating and saying, look, you guys are already doing t-shirts and everything all on your own. Your game is amazing. We played it. We'd like to do a special limited edition set of those pins. So that allowed us to kind of get those smaller gaming companies comfortable with it. Same thing and then it was another mistake is really not following through on the royalty reporting and stuff like that, right? Not having not getting the legal advice on how those deals can be structured because they can seem simple. We're going to sell X amount of units. This is the royalty we're going to pay. This is the terms of what we're going to pay it and how we're going to pay it. But some of these agreements with companies like Hasbro, Capcom, Sony, Netflix, the deals are huge. And if you skim through it, so I would say get that legal advice It's not that expensive to have someone review a contract. You can work with companies like Guile Ventures as well. We're comfortable with these kind of contracts and everything, and we can help steer you in the right way. There's even some ways to not sneak in, but to add a couple of items in there that say that brand and that IP is actually going to do some marketing efforts as well for you as part of this. If you get that leverage where you're like, we're thinking about this and that, but for us to really work with you, we'd love if you could dedicate some marketing dollars,
social post out there,
social posts, a video, an interview with like the artist who created the pin, that kind of thing. Really think about how that IP can be woven into your overall content, event, license, all that strategy, and look beyond just it's this recognizable name and I might be able to get more subscribers for it. Think about the long term. It's the same thing that we think about when we talk member benefits, right? You want to create benefits for that IP for working with you that go beyond the transactional. So you take that same mentality of wanting to create experiential moments for your subscribers that go beyond just the commerce to much bigger benefit. To have that same mentality and that same thought process when you approach these brands and IP, because they'll see the authenticity, they'll see the through line from how they fit into your overall plan and strategy, and it's just going to get them excited and motivated. We're at the point now where we're thankful enough that we're seeing movies ahead of time. There's video games that haven't even been announced yet that we're seeing like trailers for, because they're coming to us because they say, look, we can do pins, we can do this, but like you guys have something really unique. And we want to take a chance on you because of kind of what you're doing. And lastly, don't let a no be like a final no.
Yeah.
We had probably the largest IP company in the world, so you can probably imagine who it is. Early on, even though we had done some pins in the UK with their IP, say, it's just really not right, we don't really get it. Less than a year later, we're having real conversations that are way larger than just taking the IP on, because we've shown that we have this path, that we have this channel, and that we have this unique, innovative product. They've come back and said, literally, we've been watching you. We're very happy with the progress you've made. Let's start taking things to the next step. So don't take those no's too hard, especially if they're like these, bigger opportunities. Just continue to grind. Highlight the appreciation that your subscribers have for your product and the IP, and show them how this could be something that could be really big and much more than just a simple licensing conversation, a logo slap, a style guide slap, and something really interesting and unique.
Yeah, I love it. One thing that I really admire about what you've always done, Matt, is like you've built subscriptions with items that people like to collect, which builds a community, and collectors like to have things, right? Like, I loved Loot Crate. I think I was a member for like 4 years or something. And it's like, I love to get the figures. Like, you could have sent me nothing but that figure and I would have like had it on my desk. Right. So,
I mean, and things are way different today than they were in 2013, Chris. Like, we approach subscriptions vastly different than that. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, that was great. But, the company had its history that it has for a reason. Like, there may have been more opportunities to innovate. There may have been stronger ways to differentiate from others than just the exclusive product. And I think that's what we're focusing on today, is laying that infrastructure from the beginning, using all the access and Rolodex that we had before, but thinking for a new audience and maybe a little more simpler is better. One of my favorite subscription boxes is Sago Mini. And they have a figure, but everything else is paper and craft based. I will never unsubscribe from that box. And they were smart to create an older box as well for kids, because it's going to go. My son is going to be turning 6 in September. He's kind of aging out of the crafts and stuff they have, but now it's going to another one. They are just so sharp. It's just very simple. Same box design, new theme every month, figure that my son can like collect every month, and then these activities that you can do that if he spills water on and stuff like that, you just throw them away and stuff like that. I think sometimes people are thinking way too big. That being said, I also believe that there is a market today and going forward for a higher end. I know everyone wants I'm like the most expensive box and everything, but I think that there is this like fandom and subscriber layer that is untapped today that is more of these kind of limited edition drops where you don't need to worry about having 50,000.
Sell 1,000 of them at $500 a pop. Yes.
Right. And so thinking about that, and that's kind of why we've been like plussing up boxes with like the
people like limited
edition UV and stuff like that, because it's like, look, we could have just done it very simple, but let's start making the boxes a little bit more collectible. We can charge a little bit more, and we actually have people who are saying, much like other collectibles out there, they're going to buy multiple versions of these.
Yeah, and they're going to keep some in the box and never open them.
Right, because they're limited edition and everything.
Yeah.
If, something like this is going to go for a few $100s a few years from now, because we're doing them in such limited quantities. And so that aftermarket, that buy-sell trade, leaning into all of that is also very important.
When you see it on eBay for $300, we'll know.
Right. Well, you can go search eBay for Pinfinity right now. There's pins there that. Yeah, there's stuff there that people are selling today.
I love it. Well, hey, Matt, I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your support and all your insight. Matt plans to be at SubSummit this year. So for those of you watching, if you haven't got your tickets yet, make sure you go to subsummit.com and get your tickets. There's early bird pricing. We're really excited that September 21st to 23rd, you can meet Matt. He will be there.
With free pins. You meet me, I'll give you free pins.
Oh,
so
hey. That's a good deal.
That's a promise. You come up to me and give me a business card or something like that, or we talk, I'm going to give you a free pin so that you
But they got to put it on their lanyard. We're going to make them put it on their lanyard and walk around.
Cool. We did a great pin at the last SUBTA, right?
You did do a great pin last time, and I remember that. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Matt, thank you so much for your support. Hope you have a great weekend. Everybody watching, have a great weekend. Talk to you guys soon.
Take care.
Thank you.
Reach out, anybody.